You're in Bahama Village. For those who are visiting Bahama Village, we welcome you. Bahama Village Voices welcome you. This evening, we are asking the people who are running to represent this fabulous community of Bahama Village to tell us a little bit about themselves, and we are going to ask them some questions. Unfortunately, one of our candidates is ill. He had surgery today, and his daughter will come sometime and may fill in and answer some of the questions. For those of you who don't know me, I am the resident troublemaker of Bahama Village. My name, my name is Veronica Guy Stafford. And I publish the magazine together with most of the fabulous people you see around the table and those who are here who contribute and proofread and so on. Before we get into the questions of the candidate, I would like to recognize some of the people who are running for the other races. And we would like them to say something given the time. And they're right near to me. I know you're coming to check the ice cream out. Miss Oropeza, can you grab the mic for 1 minute? Tell us a little bit about you, what you're running for.
All right, the ice cream will have to wait. I'm Rachel Oropeza. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. Nice to see you. I am running for a seat on the utility board. Local, born and raised here, something I wanted to do. 30 years of experience on lots of other boards. I'm here for you. I'm one of you, and thank you for allowing me to speak, madam. Now I'm going to get my ice cream.
All the love, local girl. Come on, Chris.
Hello, my name's Chris Massicott. I am not born and raised here. I've only been here for about 7 years, and I came from Washington, D.C. I'm a former auditor and accountant. I used to work for a company called PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I came here on vacation, 7 years ago, and I never left. I love it here, and I'm running for county commissioner in District 3, which is right here. And the reason why I decided to run, which I never thought I'd be running for office, is because I'm just tired of watching my friends leave because they can't afford to live here. And we see that everywhere, that people are getting priced out of their homes and they have to, go. Even, conks and people that have been here for so long see that there is, cheaper ways to live in other places. And I want to keep good people here and good working people. You can't hear? How about that? But anyway, this is a November race. I'm running as a Democrat, but I'm a fiscally conservative Democrat, and I'm going to ask a lot of questions about the rapidly increasing budget at the county level, and that's why I'm running, and I hope I can get your support in November. Thank you.
Our people have a reputation of starting things late. We're changing that, and we're very serious in Bahama Village this time. We're talking to our representatives. Do we have anybody else here who is running? Any more candidates? Okay, we're going to get into the meat of the matter. Are you ready, Marcy? Thaddeus, are you ready? I was hoping that Mia would be here by now. I am going to take the questions. I know I sent you a copy of the questions. I'm going to take the questions as they come. Please provide an example of a time you felt Black conch and other generational groups of residents could have been better included in a district-specific matter. When you're done, you could pass the mic to Thaddeus, or if you want to pass, it's okay. These questions were sent to BahamaVillageVoices.com, and there's no offense. We just want to talk with you guys before you're elected. So it's up to you. Should I ask again? Should I ask again, Thaddeus? Ladies and gentlemen, I am assuming that you all know who these people are. Mr. Thaddeus Cohen on my left, and Marcy Rose on my right. Okay? And you want to go that way? Okay, I'll give Marcy a chance to start. As I'm a woman, I'll give her the chance to start. Tell me about you.
Okay, I'm Marcy Rose, and I've lived in Key West for 41 years. I first came down in 1983, and I've been here on and off since 83 and then permanently since 92. I'm a local real estate probate and estate planning attorney. I've also served on many boards, the Bahama Village Redevelopment Advisory Committee. I've served on Bahama Village Music Program for years, and then I was a teacher for violin for the Bahama Village Music Program. I've also been Clean Florida Keys president, and I was very instrumental in getting the bike path down from Key Largo to Key West. And I also was very instrumental with Reef Relief as president in getting our city to go to, advanced wastewater treatment. So I've been heavily involved with nonprofits. I was also a pro bono attorney for Key West Sailing Community Center. What else? So many others. I can't even remember. Florida Keys Outreach Coalition, which started the first homeless shelter, and that turned into the Sunshine House. And I know I'm missing some, but I've been heavily involved with community service. I've lived on Thomas Street since 1998. This is my favorite neighborhood. I love all my neighbors. And I am here for you. This was actually not my idea to become city commissioner, but I'm happy to do it. And it would be as a public service the same way I served on the nonprofit boards. And initially, I didn't even realize it was a paid position, which is definitely a little bit of a boon. But I was willing to do it without payment as well. And very happy to be here and very honored and look forward to serving you.
Good evening. A little bit about myself. I've been out of Keys like most folks, come down on vacation, fall in love, and then you get involved. In the early 90s, I was the one who did the Bahama Village preservation plan. One of the things that we were trying to do at that time was look into the future and understand what the dynamics and changes that might occur in the community to try to place them in a position to be able to manage that change. In 95, I did the Bahama Village redevelopment plan. That was done with an eye towards BRAC, understanding that the Navy and most military installations were going to downsize, and what would be the opportunities for the folks in Bahama Village. And out of that came the Truman Waterfront. There was a lot of iterations over those 20 years, but we have basically what you see now. My involvement has been being able to work as a planner. I was the planner here from 2015 to 2017 and as a consultant. And so some of the things that you see coming out of the ground now are from the efforts that I did 20 plus years ago. The expansion of the Douglas Gym, the conversation about how we'll handle MLK Pool, the 3.2 acres, which is now Bahama Loft, being able to get affordable housing. And then as a city as a whole, being able to change the zoning on College Road to further affordable housing. So why do I thank me for you? Experience. I'm a former DCA secretary, and as you know, back in the day, the Department of Community Affairs was heavily involved in what happens here in the Keys. I worked with then Mary Rice and Dahar, who was the mayor, I believe, at the time, to get $40 million worth of infrastructure to help with near water quality. I was out in Pensacola as an assistant city manager, over in Collier County, Naples as an assistant county manager. So government is not strange for me. Being able to do policy is something that I do, and I believe that I'm going to be the best person to be your voice for District 6 going forward. So go to our website, Cohen for District 6, to see a little bit more about what it is that I do. Thank you.
For those of you who just walked in the room, There's food on the side because I know some of you would have come straight from work. Food is provided by Blue Heaven, Yaman's Jamaican Restaurant, Flamingo Crossing Ice Cream. Who did I miss out? Banana bread from Blue Heaven. And guys, I will say to you that we're not going to do a line where you line up for food. If you feel like having banana bread, ice cream, oh, how could I forget? Kermit key lime pies. You know I like sweet things, right? Kermit key lime pies. If you feel like eating some ribs or some chicken, you could go up and get something to nibble on while we go through the evening. Should I skip the question or move on? Know that the questions did not come from Bahama Village Voices. We collected questions from people who read the magazine, and the people sent in questions. We're going to ask the questions. We'll skip some, but we want to know more about you, what you know about the city, and how you will handle yourself as a commissioner. People have not started voting as far as I know, and people want to know what's going on. We have voters in the audience, and we'd like you to tell us about you and more. So I'll go to housing. And I would say to you that I ask one of the czars of housing in Key West to come to the meeting in case we need some additional information. Independently of the dais, what are some measures you can implement right away to address the housing crisis in our community?
I'm not sure that there's things you can do separate from the dais, and I guess you mean being on the city commission. But there's a couple things. One, I think we can create more partnerships with private and other nonprofits to be able to take a look at housing opportunities on vacant lots. As you know, part of the process that we have is BPAS. So there's a constraint on the number of units that you can do at any one time. But I think that there's still opportunities for us to look more creatively in the vacant spaces that we have to be able to do affordable housing. At a program that we just left yesterday, being able to do accessory units is a possibility. That's on the books currently to be able to help folks create additional income with an expanded unit. There's opportunities on second floors and some of the vacant spaces to be able to partner with folks to be able to do that. And one of the things that we're looking at currently, or at least that I did, as you know, the TDC has $35 million of unspent money. The legislature has said that they can use that for affordable housing for those who are in the private sector in the tourism industry. I asked that board if they would put $3.5 million into the Lofts project to be able to help drive down costs. And then I also made the same presentation to the city commission. Those dollars will be available at the 1st of August, and I think the city has an opportunity to be first in line to ask for those dollars.
I was going to mention the accessory units and making them legal units somehow, and or illegal units that people have, somehow legalizing those units. And then possibly looking towards all of the Airbnbs that are popping up everywhere and giving some type of tax incentive to people that are using their homes as Airbnbs to change over to yearly rentals. Because the Airbnbs that are popping up all over the place tend to really degrade a neighborhood. People come down and party, and they're, a lot of the places are being used for less than 30 days, even though they may sign a lease for 30 days. They're being used for less than the 30 days. So we could perhaps create some type of ordinances and or do some tax incentives for people to have yearly leases. So maybe a tax incentive for those who rent yearly and rent at an affordable rate. Because a lot of the homes that we have, even in the lofts that we're creating, I don't think we think they're really affordable, even though they're called affordable. based on what they say is the median income. I think, and Thaddeus knows the figures a lot better than me, but I think it's getting close to $80,000 or $90,000 for the median income. And I think a lot of people don't make that kind of money. So if we were to do true affordable housing and really help people that are landlords that are renting on yearly leases, we might be able to make some kind of difference by giving those landlords some type of incentive to keep their rents truly affordable.
For those who just came in, you got to come to the table. Nobody will serve you. Before we move on, I must ask you to support the bar. They have facilitated us in doing this forum, and they have to pay the lights and the water and the air condition and to keep this place going. So get a water, get a soda, get a whiskey, but don't get too drunk so that the American Legion could keep going. So we good with that question on housing? Housing affordability is separate from affordable housing, which involves government funding. Are there measures like rent stabilization that you can push for?
Well, I think that is a little bit similar to what I just spoke about, rent stabilization. I think we could use the same thing to stabilize rent. I don't know if there's a legal way to put caps on increases in rents. I don't know of any places that do that. So I think I would repeat the same thing I just said earlier regarding that.
Yeah, rent stabilization is difficult. What you're asking is to be able to have a rent cap, and at the same time, the landlord is trying to absorb increasing costs. And so over time, you wind up with an imbalance. I think for us here in Key West, the issue is going to be is how do we manage the BPAS that we have? How do we manage the hurricane evacuation issues that oftentimes arise? And then how it is that we can partner with private sector industry to be able to build more units. I think it's doable. As you know, affordable housing has components that are known. You need the land, you need equity, and then you need subsidies. And the subsidies can either come from your local government, nonprofits, or others. And that's what the difficult part is. And I think that if we focus a little bit more heavily on how we can get from where we are to where we want to be, that would help put new units into the market, which would then start to have an effect on units that are older, which would need to compete by lowering their price.
Just going back to the Airbnb issue that I raised earlier, I think that's really a great thing that we can crack down on, because the Airbnbs, again, they're popping up everywhere in our residential neighborhoods. I know of a few in our neighborhood, and this is taking away affordable housing for people. It's taking away yearly rentals. It's also taking away from the businesses, the hotel businesses, the bed and breakfast businesses. So if we could crack down on the Airbnbs, maybe by some type of positive reinforcement again, instead of punishment, by giving tax incentives to people who rent yearly and keep their rents at a reasonable rate. I really think that's a big avenue that has not been tapped, and that these Airbnbs are popping up everywhere. And I think that's a real big crisis for us in many ways, for the residents that live around them and for affordable housing issues, just to stress that again.
We move to small business. Will there be a city office for small business resources and assistance? Every city I am familiar with has one, and Key West has many small businesses per square mile in comparison. It is important not only to the businesses, but the commissioners whose time can be freed up to work on other matters.
That's a hypothetical, but it is certainly something I would support. I would support something supporting small businesses. I think it's important to have resources for small businesses, and that we have to support our local businesses and buy local and stay away from the large corporations. So I would certainly be in support of that. If we were able to create something like that, I would be all for that.
I think I would take a different approach. We have a chamber, and I think that there would be an opportunity for the city to work more closely with the chamber on one, business development, and then on second would be business retention, and then third would be how we make the process easier from building permits to planning and zoning in order to foster opportunities for businesses to expand. As you know, currently, if you're a restaurant and you want to add seats, there's an issue about how you'll be able to do your traffic counts in an area that's more walkable. And then you wind up spending a lot of time going through the planning commission to ask for variance. So I think there's things that we can do internally that can make owning a business here a little easier. A dedicated office, I'm not sure that I would be necessarily supportive of that. There are also up in Miami-Dade and Broward County opportunities with Small Business Development Center, with the Black Business Investment Fund, to be able to, again, partner with those in order to be able to provide technical assistance for those who are looking to start new businesses.
That question did not come from Bahama Village Voices, but I may chip in on this here. The government has several plans to help minority businesses. I have gone to the city commission, I would say at least 10 times, asking them to establish a DBE, MBE, minority business organization or office. The county has it. I have been one of the subcontractors with the county when they were rebuilding the airport. For the last 20 years, I have been asking the city of Key West to establish a minority business, either fund or office. And when I saw this question, I was encouraged. I'm willing to give whatever information you need because I have worked with Hillsborough County, Broward County in their minority business with entertainment and so on. And that's a pain because when I found the contractors to work with the airport when they were rebuilding the Key West airport, I had a cousin-in-law who walked away with more than $2 million a year being a minority business person. And it is important because for those who watch the city commission meetings on television, we have a few contractors making all the money and there is no kind of setback or any kind of target for minority business people. So that's one of the reasons why I placed that question when I receive it. I would prefer not to give people's names who submitted the question, but if you want any information, I will provide it to you for the people who asked the question. Moving along. Question 1, this came in. Why are you running for this office? What motivates you to pursue this role? Why do you believe you will make a good representative of Bahama Village?
I'm running for this office because I've been here for 41 years. It's my home. I love Key West. I love my neighbors. I've gotten to personally witness the degradation of the nearshore waters and the dying off of our reef for environmental issues. I swam around the island for 10 years in a row and saw the beautiful white sand go to algae and mush that was never over by Fort Zac, and it's even entered into the Fort Zac area. I won't even swim in our nearshore waters anymore. It used to be that I'd swim in the winter, but now I really hesitate to even swim in our nearshore waters during the winter. And the only place that I think is even safe to swim might be over by Fort Zac, which is where the Atlantic meets the Gulf, and it's pretty fast moving. But it's just sad what I've seen in terms of the environment in Key West. And I care about our environment. I care about all the people here. I care about the animals here, the plant life here. And I want to see Key West continue to thrive. And I've done a lot through my environmental organizations that I've chaired and been president, and in terms of bringing, again, Key West to advanced wastewater treatment, where we went from shallow injection wells to deep water injection wells, preventing so much of the sewage from coming right into the near shore waters. There's still so much that we're doing on the island that is wrong, unfortunately, that people are myopic to. They just don't see. They're short-sighted. We're starting to take our parks and our playgrounds and our trees, and we're putting cut up mulch, rubber mulch, which is actually cut up tires. Tires are one of the most toxic things there is. There's no place to dispose of them. And I didn't tell everybody, but I also have a background, 2.5 years in chemical engineering. So these are things that I understand. And when we take a tire and we cut it up and we increase the surface area of that tire by cutting it up into a gazillion pieces, and then we bind it with a chemical agent, and then we spread it all around our trees, what we're doing is when it rains, that those chemicals go right into our groundwater, which goes right into the nearshore water. And then when our children play on those in parks, it off gases. So the children are breathing it. It causes cancer. And we need to do things a lot more green in this city than we are doing now. And that is my passion. That is where I would be the strongest in terms of voting for and keeping our island as green and healthy as possible. I do have strengths in economics and fiscal responsibility. I'm also an attorney and a businesswoman. I run 2 successful businesses on my own, as well as owning real estate. And while Thaddeus may be a lot smarter in some things than me, for sure, and I really like Thaddeus very much, and I also really like Erin, I would say that I would be a great candidate for your city commissioner for District 6.
Why me? I think it's because I've connected, and I am connected to the community. The things that you see that are important to you, I've had a hand in them over the last 20 to 30 years. And as I've walked the neighborhood in the community and had conversations with you, what I oftentimes hear is that we are an afterthought. District 6 is not high on anyone's priority except when they want something. And then everybody is looking at District 6 because that's where the action is. It's either the expansion of the Douglas Gym, which I proposed back in 1995, and it took that long to come to fruition, or if it's the Truman Waterfront Park, or if it's if it is the MLK swimming pool. But what we don't see is $12.5 million in American Rescue Plan dollars that basically was written specifically for a community such as Bahama Village, of which we got $140,000. 12 million, and this community got a repair of the lift at the gym, a bookcase, air conditioning repair at the Douglas Gym, and a trophy. That was it out of $12.5 million. When I was seeking the position as the city manager, part of the research is to understand what some of the ongoing studies are. So I asked for the citywide stormwater master plan. Not completed yet. And I asked what role. I didn't see a section for District 6. And the utility director at the time said to me, District 6 is not included in the city's citywide stormwater master plan. Now, I didn't have to ask why. I mean, this is not my first rodeo. So you ask, how do we get included? And he said, and I said, I know it's not your fault because you've only been here 3 years and the study's been around for 5. He included us as a change order. Well, my colleagues, they don't understand, at least I believe, they don't understand how the process works and how to know where the dollars are going and how to advocate for those dollars to come to our community. So we flood in front of the Douglas Gym. You have to go to the utility director to say, why don't you combine the fact that you've got flooding in front of the gym, we have flooding down at the pool, combine those projects so that we can get them done with dollars that are coming to the community. That's what it is that I do. Those are the things that I know. That's how I can advocate for you as I've walked the community and people say, we want to be at the front and not just an afterthought. So I think it's important for us to understand how the budgets work. And the city is doing that currently. And we need to be present to be able to understand how that's going to happen and what projects are being set aside for us. We have a bond issue. And did you know that it's being done in 6 $50 million pots? So every 3 years, they're going to put forward $50 million. So do you know that maybe your project might be in year 10 as you vote for $300 million today? Those are the things that I'm passionate about. That's what I've spent my entire career doing, plugging people into the process so that they have a voice and an understanding of what happens for them and also what happens to them. So we still have opportunities to do great things, I believe, in not only Bahama Village, but all of District 6. And I think that with the knowledge and experience, that's what it is that I'm offering to this community.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't get bored. I want to break in transmission, as they say, and recognize some people in the community. We have our city attorney, Mr. Ramsing, who is also a Trini like me, Trini parentage, sitting in with us. Ron, show your hand, man. Let the people know who you are. That's our city attorney. I saw Louis C. Rock come in here. Where is he? That's a culture man in the community, Louis C. Rock. And then I saw Monica Haskell. Come here, Monica. Tell us what the others did. Monica is another candidate running for City Commission District 1. I'll give you 1 minute to tell everybody who you are and why you're running.
Thank you, Veronica. I am Monica Haskell, running for Key West City Commission District 1. I've lived here for 48 years. That's throughout the Keys, mostly in Key West. I have served for 28 of those years on various city and county boards. I've served on the County Planning Commission, the City Sustainability Advisory Board, the County Board of Adjustments. I was a founding member of the Key West Art and Public Places Board. What do you care about that? The reason is I have a skill set that I can bring to the city. I've also been an executive director of several nonprofit organizations. I've been a grant writer. I've secured millions of dollars for nonprofit organizations in the Keys, like Habitat for Humanity and the Key West Art and Historical Society. About a year or two ago, one of the grants that we did for Historical Society had to do with emphasizing the contribution of people of color throughout Key West's history, which has often been overlooked. And Art and Historical had a collection of watercolors and drawings that were created in the WPA era, in the 1930s era. And a lot of them had like people of color doing like ordinary stuff, walking around the streets of the neighborhood, working on the docks, that kind of thing. And so, when your kids go to a museum like that, they should be able to see people that look like them on the walls of the museum. So that was just one, project that I was involved with that I just wanted to mention it. So going forward, I would like to see the city have more communication with the community as well as internally, the different departments talking better amongst themselves. And I'm all about clean water and clean and safe streets, and I am running a clean campaign. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Monica. We'll come back to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the housing czar in our midst. Yeah, I'm calling you the housing czar because the lofts is all that we have out of all that was given back to Key West. It's sensitive to us, and I want to recognize Scott Pridgeon of AHI. Scott, come on. Let people know who you are. Don't hide. That's Scott Pridgeon. And he is looking after the houses. Those who have not filled the application to get one of those units, please do so. You could get a copy of the Bahama Village Voices magazine at every corner, at Blue Heaven and most of the other businesses around town, and go and fill out an application. If you're living in rental housing, this is the place to go. You can own it, especially those of us who have lived in this village for a long time. If you don't do it, and if you don't tell your people to do it, you can't blame nobody. And so, before we move on, I want to recognize one of our elected official, but not running for election, Mona Clark, from the City Commission, from the City Keys Energy. Forgive me. Am I missing any other elected officials? Okay, we'll break again, but remember, those who just came in, you gotta come and get your food. We're not gonna make a line, and we're not gonna break for food. It's here for you. I am in the electronic media time, so forgive me. Oh my. Okay, Thaddeus and Marcy. Why are you running for this office? No, I asked that one already, right? The one that hits the heart. Please give me a minute again. Oh boy. Mr. Cohen, you just mentioned this. What happened to the $12 million federal grant money from 2021-2022? Will Bahama Village Black and Native residents be included in the Lofts Apartments 3.2 acres project currently under construction? How can you assure the community that qualified residents will have priority for home ownership rentals? Would you work with these residents to ensure equal opportunity across the board?
I can try to answer this one. I know that there are certain qualifications and income guidelines you have to meet in order to get that, and I do believe that locals are considered first. Thaddeus does have more knowledge than me regarding this, but I would certainly work with our locals and anybody that qualified, but I believe those guidelines are already set as to who is going to be able to apply, and I think they have a tier system where I believe first they look to the locals and the residents that live here. And I'm going to let Thaddeus explain it because he can explain it better than me. But it is already a set. And the only thing I believe that we could do is if the person meets those requirements, then we can work with them because the requirements have already been set.
Uh, you introduced the czar, so Scott Pridgeon, who raised his hand, is the one who can tell you how the process works. But as was being said, it's already in place. And what needs to happen at this moment in time is for us to encourage folks to sign up, because you can see that the project is currently under construction. And so that allows you, and it gives you time to get your finances in order. It allows you to be able to decide what lending institution that you want to be able to go to in order to have this work for you if you're on the for sale side. And the concern that I had, and I find it interesting being here, is that a year ago, October, I'm the one who raised the issue of the fact that it was not truly home ownership. Because at the time, if you were beyond the income requirements, you had to sell. And so it was really a lease agreement. And then the developer went to the legislature in order to have the land authority's language changed. So where we are now is that, okay, you're a homeowner, but if you're between 80 and 140 AMI for a 2-bedroom, you're north of $371,000. And if you're, again, 80 to 140 AMI for a 3-bedroom, you're north of $417,000. I'm not aware of that many folks who are going to be able to qualify to be able to make those kind of payments, plus what you have to do for insurance, plus what you have to do for the homeowners association, et cetera. So that's the reason why I'm looking and encouraging the city to look at the Tourist Development Council's $35 million to be able to put more money into that project to help drive down that cost. Because typically in affordable housing, the issue of 60 and below is handled by SHIP. Above its market rate, but the donut hole, as they call it, is between the 80 and 100 or 80 to 140. So we need to be doing all that we can to advocate for the city to step up and create partnerships with the county land authority in order to get additional dollars. And the argument that can be made is it's under construction and we can see what the costs are. I don't want to speak for the developer, but you could ask to open the books to be sure. And then at the end of the day, the dollars that are placed through that subsidy can make the high end of that project a little bit more realistic.
And just for those of you who might not know, the AMI is the average median income. And I believe there's hundreds of people already signed up for this housing. So getting on the list now is a really good idea because a lot of those people will fall through if they don't have their ducks in a row. So now is definitely the time. And we're a little behind the 8 ball even getting on the list right now. But you definitely want to look into that. Another thing we can do is look through the Housing Authority for first-time home ownership and see if there's any type of program that they might offer. Because I believe in the city, they were offering first-time homeowners certain very low interest rates or second mortgages that did not become due unless upon sale. So there are some programs for first-time homeowners that people might qualify for and going to the Housing Authority and looking into this affordable housing as well.
I hope you're making up your mind on how you would vote. We have August 20th. And for those who are voting at home, the purpose of this forum is to find out who knows and who's going to do what for us. It's cut straight. If they can't help us and they don't know, we don't vote. We vote the other way. And I'm serious. I will encourage it and I will write it in the magazine. We're getting close to the time when we will have open forum because I know some of you did not send questions in. There are a few people here I'm seeing whom I know sent questions in. So I will ask one more question, and then if nobody has questions on the floor, then we will come back to the other questions. We got about 27 questions altogether. And my question is, would you support a Black Indigenous Museum building as promised by the City of Key West in 2016? Will you support island culture and its traditions? And if so, how?
I would definitely support a heritage museum, a Black heritage museum and island culture. Exactly how, I'm not sure. I think proposals would have to be made. I don't know that I would be making the proposals, but I would definitely be in support of those. I know I visited our sister city at Green Turtle Cay in the Bahamas, and we are so rich in history here. I think it would be wonderful to memorialize that history with a museum, and I'd love to take part in that and help in any way I can. I've even heard the history, and I'm really not a great historian, so please forgive me, but I believe some of the homes from Green Turtle were actually transported to Key West and vice versa. And it's just wonderful to be able to experience those things. We still have a lot of our old conch homes, and our area that we live in here is really rich with history. So I'd be very supportive of that.
It's my understanding that the city is trying to work with the group that's come forward over the years, trying to develop a Black museum, and that there's potential space in the Douglas Gym expansion in order for that to occur. So we just have to monitor how those conversations between the group and the city ultimately resolves itself.
Mr. Cohen, I looked at the plan that the city has for that Douglas room, and what they're offering for a Black museum is a little room. And you have a group who's been crying out for a museum. I contributed stuff to them from Fuzzy, those who remember Fuzzy, the only cobbler in Key West. I was his caretaker in the end, and I gave Wilson some stuff and have more to give him. And I'm sure members of the community gave Wilson pictures and stuff. And whatever the city is offering right now, Mr. Ramsing, whatever the city is offering right now in the plan, what is drawn in that plan that I saw is definitely an insult to the Black people in Key West. And I will leave it at that. It is an insult to give them a 200 by 200 room to put information about the old man who built this place that we are sitting in. You know, I have all the pictures and the house that you lived, you bought Mr. Grant's house. He brought a house from somewhere and put it down. That's now a restaurant at the corner of, there's so much to say and do. And the families have the records. And what we are asking is the person who is going to sit on the next commission seat, not fight the residents who want to do something good. And that's what we're looking for. Don't fight us if we're trying to do something good in the community. But I'm not supposed to do this. Ladies and gentlemen, this attorney here is going to tell you something about voting. I'm getting too fired up. He's going to tell you about registering.
Oh, I've never seen you fired up, Miss Stafford. In all the years I've known you, yes. Hi, I'm Wayne Dapser. Some of you know me. I have an immigration law practice right down the street. I've been doing this for 25 years. I also have a radio show on Wednesday mornings, and I've been fortunate to have just about almost all the candidates I think we have here today have been on my show, and I want to thank you very much for being my guests. And one thing about voting, the 20th of August is the election that will decide many of the races, and early voting starts 2 weeks before, which is the 6th of August. So many people want to vote by mail. The marvelous Florida legislature, in their wisdom, canceled all mail-in registrations. If you think, well, I voted for mail for years, I want to do it again, you must re-register with the supervisor of elections to receive an absentee ballot. You can do it by the phone. You can do it by email. You can stop in. They have a nice, beautiful office up there right at College Road. Once you turn on down, the problem is you can't find it. There's no signs out in front pointing out there. Fortunately, there were a couple of people sitting there. They have to kind of guide you. Is this the election office? Yeah, right down there. There's no sign that says election office. They kind of put it in a place where it's hard to find. Lovely. But that's a whole other discussion. So go on in there. They're extremely helpful, extremely friendly. You can update your voting registration, like I say, by phone, online, or in person. So please do that. Thank you.
I will open the floor shortly because we don't want to go up to 9 o'clock. But I would ask this last question. What would you do for the beautification of Bahama Village? Would you ensure pressure washing of the city sidewalks in Bahama Village as necessary? Example, around the churches, American Legion, where we sit now, and other community areas. Would you consider an ordinance allowing the city of Key West or an authorized group to clean, whitewash, and maintain graves in the city cemetery?
Cleanliness is next to godliness. I really like that idea. As a chairperson of Clean Florida Keys of many, many years, I headed up the, what is it? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank, but where you pick an area of the road and you clean that area of the road. And then I also started the Keep Your Butts Off the Beach program, where I handed out these little containers to put cigarette butts in. But I think we could make a community association similar to what the Southernmost Point has done. And Pete Janker is here tonight. He organizes that, and it's a wonderful little organization. We could create a little community association with Bahama Village where we held cleanups on every Saturday morning or every other Saturday morning. I know myself, when I walk my dogs, I often bring an extra bag, and I think they call it plogging when you're walking or jogging and picking up garbage. And I do that myself all the time when I'm walking my dogs. I'm constantly picking up. But I certainly would support pressure washing and keeping the cemetery clean. And I think it really starts there. Everything good starts with cleanliness, and keeping our streets free of litter and our sidewalks and our cemeteries clean and beautiful. Because when people see things that aren't nice, then they don't hesitate to throw something else on the ground. But when you have something that's really clean in front of you, that one little piece of litter, that one cigarette butt really stands out like a sore thumb when people throw it down. And that's a big passion of mine, is keeping our streets and our city clean. And I would love to have a little community association in Bahama Village to not only address cleanliness, but all kinds of issues, the same type of issues, again, as the Southernmost Point has created through Pete Janker. And I think it's very smart. And we could meet like this District 6 meets, and you have different issues, whether it's safety or lighting issues. I know one of our street lights went down, and it was down for 2 weeks on the ground. And there was electric wires under that street lamp that I don't know if they were live or not, but whatever they did to make it safe did not look very safe to me, because a child could have just pulled the tape off and stuck their hand down underneath. And who knows if it was live under there or not, I don't know. But either way, it was unsightly. So we certainly could man together and have regular meetings and take on the issues that we find in our community. And our community, District 6, does go beyond Bahama Village, though. It goes out to the Casa Marina. It goes out to the graveyard on one side. And we would be inclusive of everybody in those meetings. This would be a great place right here to have those meetings. So I support that 110%.
Being able to be clean, I think, is important. The city has the Key West Forward strategic plan, and one of the top 5 issues was cleanliness. That was throughout the city. As you know, Community Services does do Duval Street currently in certain sections. So I would think that it would be expanding that team's work to be able to take a look at, as you're indicating, the facilities here in Bahama Village as part of their typical routine maintenance. Also, it's my understanding the city now has 2 employees that are assigned to the cemetery. So that's been an upgrade from where we've been in previous years. And I would expect that if there is a group of individuals who had a nonprofit or just volunteers, that there would be a way to create a mechanism so that they would be able to provide additional support to those folks to be able to help maintain the cemetery.
This one is coming close to home for me. I didn't write the question, but I would read it. What will you do to make residents in District 6 and Bahama Village feel represented? Will you allow citizens to voice their opinions at District 6 meetings by making exceptions to Robert Rules of Order? I'll expand on this. I'm an immigrant, proud immigrant. I live in Bahama Village 36 years. Spend the money I work in Bahama Village. Encourage people, do what I gotta do. But I have not had representation because I'm an immigrant. There are people from Haiti, there are people from Jamaica. Jamaicans in the house today, right? There are people who tell me, and I don't add, I just eat my pain. We don't feel represented because even if we complain, we're not heard. In fact, we're bottled, and I'm sure some of you know. Some of the folks who are here may not understand discrimination, but there are different kinds of discrimination. We're talking about the black folks in Key West and the immigrants who choose to come and live near to people of the diaspora. What are you going to do about that kind of discrimination?
I can say that I've identified with minorities my whole life. I grew up Jewish, and I'm black inside. I can say that. I always had extra curly hair and felt different. I have a black mother, Laura Jean Butler, who also drove the Contour train here for like 30 years and is truly was a mother to me. So I've never seen myself as any different than people of color. And I've never treated people differently, anyone for that matter. I don't see it. So I can tell you that from me, you would never be treated differently. Nobody will be treated differently. My cell phone is available. I live and work right out of my home. Anyone can come see me. And I would do my absolute best to represent everybody. Excuse me. One of the things I want to bring back to politics, so to speak, is public service and being a servant of the people in my district. So I might think differently than the majority of my people. I don't know, because every issue is going to be different. But what I feel my duty is as a public servant, if I am commissioner in District 6, is to represent what you want, what the majority of you want, not necessarily what I see as being right. Hopefully those things will gel together. But my job, as I see it, would be to represent District 6 and what District 6 wants. So for people that don't have computers and can't vote in an interactive website or something like that, my door would always be open. You could call and come see me anytime, and I would represent you equally. With regards to getting time in front of the commission, I think anyone can have time in front of the commission. You just have to sign up to speak at that meeting. So I'm not sure what you're saying about Robert's Rules of Orders, but I know there is a public speaking section at every meeting, so all you have to do is sign up and you will be allowed to speak. And if I ever saw somebody sign up and not be able to speak, I would certainly stand up and make sure that they're able to speak. Well, those of you that know me in the neighborhood would know that I care about everybody, and you would all be treated equally. And
What I would say is that we are all to be embraced. And when we embrace us all, it's an opportunity for us to speak our mind. It's an opportunity for us to be informed. And it's an opportunity for us to be able to find consensus on issues that matter to us dearly. I've committed myself and my career to that, and as well as here in District 6. So as I've traveled the community, what I've heard is responsiveness. If you call, do you return that call? If I have an issue, will you advocate those issues for me? If there's something that goes on in the bowels of the city, will you let us know so that we can then be prepared to speak intelligently when we come to the commission on those issues that we find most important? So I think that that's what this campaign for me has been about, is to knock on doors and to listen and to ask people what they feel is important. So that's not only just the citizens here in Bahama Village, but it's also in the rest of District 6, is the business community. So if you get all those various perspectives, I think that creates an opportunity for us to go from where we are to where we want to be. And you all should feel free to be able to talk to your commissioner and have respect for what your opinion is. One of the things that I would look at doing, for example, is to have a walk-in Wednesday, where people would just be able to walk into the office and sit down and talk and say to me what it is they believe the city should be doing on their behalf. So that puts me in a better position to be that advocate. So I think there's things that we can tweak as a commission, we can tweak as staff, to be able to be more responsive to our citizenry. And that's what I'm committed to.
Thank you. I've often said, whose pocket are you in? There's a question here about that, but I'm not going to ask it right now. I'm going to hold back. But one of the problems that exist in the city of Key West is that you have 7 people on the dais. And if you watch the city commission meeting, you have 4 that agree and 3 that disagree, or 4 that disagree and 3 that agree. And for those of us who are sitting outside watching in, sometimes there are meetings before the meeting, and we're not feeling represented. Hence, one of the reasons why we are having this forum and wanting to know how you feel about it. But we'll come back to the one with the pockets and whose pocket you are in. But I want to break in transmission a little. Those who just came in, you have to come get your food. We're not going to break so that you could line up and get food. If you want something, we have key lime pie from Kermit, Flamingo Crossing ice cream, soursop and coconut, and banana bread from Blue Heaven, Yaman's Jamaican food from next door to GFS. I think we have ribs and pork, right, Mark? We have jerk pork and ribs, and then we have jerk chicken from Blue Heaven. So you could come and grab and, get a little bit. But I want to call the county commissioner candidate, and I'm only giving you 3 minutes, Chris. I'm not seeing anybody else, to tell us what you're going to do, because you're going to represent Bahama Village, right? I'm going to give you the microphone. 3 minutes. Tell us what you're going to do for us. Tell us a little bit about you, but you have 3 minutes. Yeah, you have 3 now. See, it's adding up.
Well, I appreciate it, Veronica, and thank you for doing this. And this has been very informative, and I really appreciate this. I am running for County Commissioner in District 3, which is Bahama Village, like Veronica said. And I'm running because I want to bring more accountability and transparency to the county budget. We just had our budget meeting today, and they last year they passed the largest property tax increase in the history of Monroe County. It was a 17% millage rate increase. It was like over 19% above rollback, which was enormous. And our spending went up by $147 million. So now our new proposed budget is $715 million for just 83,000 people. And I was very encouraged today to see that they were eliminating 12 positions at the county, because the biggest expense in any any government is employees. And if we can do things more efficiently and more effectively with technology, or just better ways of doing it and saving people money, that goes right back into your pockets. And I'm just tired of watching my friends leave because they can't afford to live here anymore. And there's a big disconnect between homeowners and people who have been here for, or have owned their home for 20, 30 years and their homestead exemption. They're capped at 3% increases every year. But if you're a renter, your cap is 10% and your landlord keeps paying market rate tax increases, and they just pass that on to their renters. So renters disproportionately have to pay property taxes even though they don't ever see the bills. So I want to bring more transparency to the county government, and I want to see, a real effort to contain costs, because we have a lot of things coming down the road, and the decisions that we make today are going to affect what the keys are going to be like in the next 20 years. And I've only been here for a little over 7 years, but I really hope to say that when I, can say I've been here for 27 years, that we made the right decisions 20 years ago to make sure that as many people as possible who want to stay can stay. So thank you.
That's for the county. And he will be the Bahama Village representative if he's chosen. I'll ask another question. You gotta ring your own bell. Go ahead, brother. Question to Massey Rose and Mr. Cohen. You're in the hot seat. Will you be able to put friendships, falling outs, and relationships aside in such a small town and work to hold others accountable to a level of efficiency?
I would say that's a definite yes for me. I've had a law office since 1992, and since 1994, I've been a sole practitioner attorney, and that is what I presently do. So I am not the type of person who holds grudges or makes opinions about people or talks about people in any way, shape, or form. So I tend to wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm honest to a fault, and you get what you see with me. So I'm not in anybody's pocket. I have my own mind. I speak my own truth, and I will do the right thing, and you can count on that.
I want to echo those comments. People have say a lot of things about me, but one has never been to be in someone's pocket. And I'm pretty sure that that's true for all of us who are running. As I said earlier, it's being able to listen, and it's being able to understand the different points of view, and it's being able to articulate those points of view so that folks are fully informed about what it is that needs to happen. And then as a commissioner, it's being able to hold staff accountable for the performance of the city. And that's what I've done as an assistant city manager in Pensacola, or as an assistant county manager over in Collier County. Running 600 individuals with a budget of $200 million, I understand what it is to be able to talk to department heads and give them directions in order for them to do the things that need to get done for the city. As a commissioner, you don't have that opportunity to tap those folks directly, but you do have an opportunity to have a conversation with the manager and talk in terms of what your expectations are for the delivery of services. So holding folks accountable is not something that's strange for me. It's being able to be honest with your citizens and with the staff as to what your expectations are, And then it's being able to have them deliver on those expectations and then coach them up in those areas where they may have some deficiencies.
One more question before I open to the floor to the villagers, people who didn't send their questions in. What do you think should be the process moving forward in vetting and hiring the next city manager?
I think the process needs to be an open and transparent process, the same way governing should be, based on performance, resume, accountability, transparency, work product and productivity, a rule follower. There's many qualifications that a good city manager should have, and the interviewing process should be the same for each city manager. That's really all I can say is it should be, the same process for each city manager, holding that city manager accountable and doing a good background check on whoever was going to take that position or apply for that position. You're not asking me about the current situation. I'm just going to hand this mic over right now.
And since she didn't talk about the current situation, neither am I. What I would say is I want to take a step back. And what I would encourage is there will be 4 new individuals that will be your commissioners. And as Veronica was saying, you get a 4-3, 4-3. I think it's an opportunity for the new commission, all 7, to talk in terms of what their expectations are for a city manager. What type of city manager are we looking for? Are we looking for someone who implements the policies and directions that come from a commission? Are we looking for an innovator, someone that you look to drive the process that you can, say yes to? Those 2 styles are very different as to what it is that we think is the best for the community. And it would seem to me that once we have a better understanding amongst ourselves as to what we believe we're looking for and the relationship that they have with the citizenry, the city attorney, the city clerk, and staff, I think that puts us in a better position to be able to make a decision on who and how you hire. It's the most important decision that a commission makes because you're asking someone to lead an organization of some 400 individuals with a budget of somewhere around 150,000. So it's something that you need to think about. And if there's not an agreement amongst the 7 as to what we believe we need, then you're not really having an opportunity for that individual to be successful. And to me, that would be prudent for a new commission.
There was one thing I just wanted to mention earlier. You spoke about, or somebody spoke about, absentee voting. And I did bring a postcard, and there's a QR code on my postcard. So if anybody does have a cell phone, that will take you right to the absentee voting registration. And I have that postcard on a couple tables back there. So if anybody is interested in the absentee voting, you can just grab my postcard and use the QR code.
Ladies and gentlemen, this forum is for you. So, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Anybody who wants to come and ask a question of the candidates, they could do so. Unfortunately, we do not have the modern day microphone that I can bring to your table. So you're going to have to come up here if you have a question. But first, before you speak, I want to ask you to be respectful. I want to ask you not to use any obscene language. And I want to ask you to respect the building that we are in. And if you can't do that, you may not like me after this evening. You got to be respectful to the candidates. Okay. You want to go ahead? You want to come? Please tell us where you live. I know you. You do.
My name's Sandy. I live over on Emma Street for 26 years. I was at the meeting last night where they were talking about hiring the city manager back that left. Are you in favor of that? Or do you think we should move forward with a new person because it's too much water under the bridge? Because obviously we don't all know the problems there. So are you in favor of bringing the old guy back or starting a new process to get a new city manager?
You want to go first?
So, with the knowledge I currently have today, I am in favor of bringing Al Childress back as city manager. There were no reasons given of cause, and from everything that I saw and knew of him, he was forthright, a rule follower, and really ran the city with a lot of efficiency. And what are the words I want? The only thing I would like to do before I would to make a final decision, what I did not get to do is speak to some of the city workers that work under him, and that I've not had an opportunity to do that. But from everything that I saw him do, that I heard from some of the public servants, especially the Police Benevolent Association, and saw directly how he governed through emails and transparency, and how he really let everybody know his calendar and what he did. He seemed to manage with real efficiency. So from what I know today, I would say yes, I would rehire Al Childress, but I would still like to do a little more investigation.
As you know, at the meeting that we were at yesterday, I said that's the wrong question to ask. And I caught a little flack after the meeting on that, because I want to reiterate the position that I've taken, which is without knowing what the 4 new commissioners believe a city manager ought to be, and knowing that there's a division amongst the 3 who remain, I think it's unfair to the commission. Al knows how the process goes. You can show up with a white shirt on a blue day, and they can thank you for your service and you move on. He understands that that's the role he's taken. So my focus is not on whether he did or did not do a good job. It's on the commission who's new as to their understanding of what the leadership skills need to be in order to move forward. And without that consensus, I'm unclear how you make a decision. And you're not going to be able to do it in one day, one dais, sitting up there with 4 folks who walk in brand new with different perspectives. So I understand that it's now a political process. People are out there trying to count votes. And I think, again, that's unfair to a new commission as their first priority to hire a manager. And the question is, do you want to take the guy back without knowing what it is that we think the guy should be doing for a commission? So I think we need to ask the correct questions, and sometimes the one that's in front of us, you may have to pass on.
And just one other thing I'd like to say, and it certainly is a difficult position to be put in because it might put us at odds with other people that are working in the city to take a position on this. So it can feel very uncomfortable. But another reason why I believe my vote would be yes as of today is because I did watch the entire special called meeting done by resolution. And every single person that spoke was in favor of keeping Al Childress. So if I'm representing my constituents and my constituents came to that meeting and every single person who spoke was in favor of keeping Al Childress, then I would vote to keep Al Childress. It was very odd because the city commission that's supposed to be representing the constituents did not do what the constituents wanted. So just wanted to give that reasoning as well.
Before I ask another question, for the people who just came in the room, you gotta come get your food. We're not gonna serve you. And please support the American Legion Bar. Get a water, get a drink. I'm going to open the floor again for elected officials and candidates who want to say something, and then I'll ask another question. We're going until 7:30. So is there anybody who wants to say something from the village or ask a question? Come on here, gal. Please say who you are and where you live.
I'm Yolanda Mingo. I reside at 708 Emma Street. Okay. Yolanda Mingo, 708 Emma Street. I think the majority in this room knows who I am, and it was hard for me to sit there and not say anything. Closer? Okay. Hello, can you hear me now? You want me to sing? Okay. So I'm Yolanda Mingo, 708 Emma Street, and my question is, what do you propose the diesel plant will look like in 10 years? And what do you think is the avenue to get there?
Okay, I think Thaddeus should answer this first, and then I'll copy what he says. No, I'm just kidding. So I said we addressed this yesterday. I really don't know. I believe they have somebody in mind privately to buy the diesel plant. Thaddeus mentioned yesterday that partnering with various city groups, if I might be paraphrasing, but I am not really up on this. It's certainly a beautiful building. It's next to heavy duty electrical equipment, and there's issues with access and the width of the roads and what it can handle. So we already are going to have a very big parking issue when the lofts get finished there. And as we already stated earlier, there's issues with flooding by the Douglas Gym. And when these condos get built and they're finished, we're going to have more issues with flooding in that area because we're creating impervious surface. And when we create impervious surface, whether it's blacktop or sidewalk or that horrible rubber mulch that I hate, it provides for more flooding because the water just doesn't absorb down. So I love that building. I walk my dogs by that building at least once a day. I would love to see that building preserved. I would love to see us do something really worthwhile. Maybe that's where you could have your museum. But, you know, unfortunately, what rules a lot of times and is not what I'm going to necessarily vote for is the big buck. You know, somebody's going to want to put something in there for profit or that makes the city money. I am not going to be that person who votes for that. So I would like to see that that building preserved. We have, what's the Conservancy building that Moat Marine's in right there, going into Fort Zach. What is that called again? The Eco Center, thank you. I mean, maybe there's some way that we could preserve that building and make a big part of it the heritage to Bahama Village. I mean, that might be a great idea. So it is a gorgeous building. I don't know the details of what has already been decided or not decided at this point.
The restoration of the diesel plant is going to be difficult and expensive. And when I was a DCA secretary, I would do this. I would say, I'm talking out loud, which means that I haven't vetted the idea and I haven't discussed the idea with any of the folks that I'm about to mention. But when we were doing the update of the Bahama Village Master Plan and the diesel plant came up, some of the ideas that came from the community is that the College of the Keys at one moment in time had a presence in Bahama Village. Is there an opportunity to be able to bring them back? And some years ago, the thought was their culinary school might be able to be located there to help train the next generations of chefs and owners and proprietors for Key West. Now, I haven't talked to the president about that, but that was an idea. As you know, the existing equipment is still located on the ground floor. only one of two places in the entire state could be a museum in an event space, and then up above could be classrooms. So there's quite a few things that could be thought of, but first it's going to need to be, it is stabilized, but then you need to go to historic dollars to be able to help restore, which is going to be expensive. We've got cleanup that's going to be expensive, and then a decision as to what it can actually be. 4th Street at one point is thought to be for a short piece, a pedestrian walkway, so that you can then lower the amount of traffic issues that you would have. So I think right now the BVRAC needs to put it on their radar scope since we're further along on the lofts. But it's something that I think we ought not to just jump to with an outside individual or company that may have a proposal that looks good with flashy photos, but may not provide the benefit for the folks in Bahama Village.
I'm doing my best to be quiet and let the candidates talk. We have people in the Bahama Village community who are capable of raising the funds, cleaning up that building, and making it something for the original people of this community. I cannot understand what I'm hearing, because I remember the times when the Key West Art and Historical Society was putting a plan out. A few of us submitted plans for a club, a restaurant, putting the people in the community to work, raising the money. There's a lady here who is a born Key Wester, who is a judge, and we got a contractor, and we submitted the plans to the Key West Art and Historical Society. I do not understand how we move from people in the community submitting a plan for that building, and then you're hearing that they are looking at private financiers to purchase that building. Apart from that, I remember reading some letters that Commissioner Lopez and at the time the BVRAC chairman Aaron Castillo was supporting I think the guys who are now running the amphitheater to purchase that building. Ram's Head. The amphitheater sits in what was supposed to come back to Bahama Village when that land was taken from the people of Bahama Village by eminent domain, and the government gave back that land to the city of Key West. The people from Bahama Village were supposed to benefit from that land. First it was 21 acres, then it went to 16, then it went to 13, then it went to 3.2, and now we are hearing that even the prices on the loft, we may hardly be able to afford it. And now I'm hearing to the candidates that a private financier is going to buy it. I don't believe in running a protest, but I think all this needs to stop. You know, it is unfair to the people of Bahama Village for this stuff to continue. People in Bahama Village sitting in the back here and don't even know what is the concert going on at the amphitheater. I'm supposed to be quiet, okay?
I think I'm going to say what I said again, because maybe there's a misunderstanding. Talking out loud, not once did I say that the diesel plant would be done by a private investor. We've got the tape, but I can tell you, I don't believe that's what I said. What I said is, during the study, there was an opportunity to have a conversation with the college. There's an opportunity to do a museum. At one point, there was a conversation about a culinary school. There's been conversations about museums. So there's been a raft of ideas that have been out there over the last forever years as to what could occur with the diesel plant. The amphitheater is done by Ram's Head, and yes, the city does collect some dollars, but it does not necessarily come into the bucket for Bahama Village. So that's a concern that folks have. So the last piece of development that's there from the time of the BRAC, which was done back in the 90s, is the diesel plant. There was conversations about building 101, if you remember that, but they tore it down. There was conversations about the other buildings that the Navy had that have been displaced in order to do ball fields. So I've been around for all those conversations. So you didn't hear from me that this is going to go to private developers. Folks have come forward with the idea that the city was not able to make a final decision on. So one of the things that you're asking about, why would you want someone to run, is for those kinds of conversations so that you're fully informed, fully engaged on how to make it happen. But at the end of the day, whoever comes forward or whatever the idea is, I will tell you, it's still going to be difficult. It's going to take a lot of money. And if the folks who came forward says that they got a minimum of $13 million to be able to pull that off, I'm quite sure the city's going to be all ears to be able to see how they'll be able to make that happen. Because I think that's probably the minimum that it's going to take to make that a first-class facility, whatever the idea winds up being. But again, I don't believe I said that a private developer is in line to do the job.
I didn't hear Thaddeus say that, and I can tell you that I said that I heard a private developer may be making an offer on that. I don't know where I heard it from, but I also heard something about Ram's Head. So what you heard is what I heard, and I can't even tell you where the heck I heard it from, but it's something that I had heard. But Thaddeus is correct. When that comes to fruition, when that becomes an issue in front of the city, it is going to be a tough one, because as I do say, I'm familiar with that building. I walk by it very regularly, and it's a shell that's barely standing while it's beautiful. And it is going to take a lot of money to repair that building. And then there's some issues too. There's serious electric right behind it. I don't know what that means, but I know that it has to be quarantined off to people, that area. So there's a lot of issues. That's all. I really don't know. I did hear that about a private venture being interested, but I couldn't even tell you where I heard it from. I did hear it might be Ram's Head, but I have no idea where.
I have documentation. I'm a paper rat. I collect information. I have documentation on letters and stuff that has been sent out to the city. The city attorney is sitting right in our midst. I'm not a mad woman. Mr. Cohen, I mean you no disrespect. I never meant you were involved in that, because I know. I see the letters. I look for them. Okay? My brother calls me, let me see if a herder. He's from the Caribbean, obviously. And he doesn't say I'm a hoarder, I'm a herder. I got the papers. I got the information. The point here is a lot of money is relative. And some of us understand money. And we're not afraid to raise 13 million if you challenge us. A lot of us are capable of doing it. And it is unfair to take it away from the people of the community. People have been crying out. The Frederick Douglass Black educators have been crying out for a space to put a museum. And I am listening for the commissioners to talk about it. You know, because we don't want 20 years from now, when you pass through Bahama Village, there's no record of the people who lived here and worked here, and everybody else is benefiting from their labor. You know, even if they could just be seen, that's good enough. And I am saying this because there are people in the room here who are looking at me when comments are made, because we want to see the people who were here, Bob Brown and all those guys, in picture, and all the stuff they use. We want to see Miss Carey from Cornish Church raising money. You know, we want it. And yes, one guy has been the front man, but there are people behind him. And we really want to see a museum here, because the way things are going, a one-bedroom apartment is $2,200. $2,200. And in fact, there are very few available. We're going to be pushed out. And we are asking the people who are going to represent the Bahama Village people to hear the pain and hear what we would like. And I am not saying this just Veronica, because I get calls, and I am trying for you to feel the pain of the people of Bahama Village. Otherwise, the people who are sitting out there who are going to vote for you need to know that you're not hearing their pain. And I love all of you, because Mr. Cohen, I was on the first board of the Bahama Village Business Association back in the 90s when you came here. And I thought that was the most brilliant black man I have heard, because he wrote the Bahama Village Redevelopment Plan. And we, the guys who owned, the original guys who owned Blue Heaven before Suan and Richard, we're talking Bahama Village now, Corinne Crockett and Bobby from the Angelina House and Lynn Kephart, we were all fighting for Bahama Village then. They're all gone. There isn't a single black business on Petronia Street. I'm going to stop. The floor is open if anybody wants to say anything before we wrap up. Sir, can you please tell us your name and where you live so we could come and hunt you down if you do us wrong? Thank you, sir.
I'm Gerald Ward. I live Bahama Village on Truman, one of the 5 shotgun houses that are colored. So I ended up with 5 questions, but obviously at this late hour, we're not going to get to 5. And so let me just say that you addressed the Roberts rules, and in reality today, the budget meeting today, tomorrow, and Thursday is a workshop which the public really doesn't get to comment under the rules of the city of Key West. So the input of the citizens today has to wait until September, with the 2 appropriations budget hearings in September to establish the millage. So there is although Robert's rules was a term, it's a little inappropriate. It is something that the candidates can do to solve the problem. And we came up with TDC money in the beginning of the session, $35 million, of which I think one of the candidates asked for $3.5 million. The commission needs to push for getting money to the 3.2. I don't care what numbers you talk about. And lastly, stormwater. That's my business, has been for 60 years, 50, 60 years. And I did know Thaddeus in the 80s and 90s in Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County. So stormwater is something that could be done for Bahama Village jointly with the Navy.
We'll go for another half an hour if you want to. We promised to do another forum. There's food here. Mr. Cohen has some gift bags for you, so you could check it out later. But Mr. Cohen and Marcy, can you remember? I'm sorry.
I was going to comment on a gentleman comment about stormwater, and part of the stormwater issue, I think, for us in District 6 is level of service. And what we want to get from our utility director and the stormwater team is, when you get a frog strangler type rain, what is the level of service that we can anticipate? So are we looking for the water to recede within a half an hour, 2 hours? And part of the issue that we have currently is that maintenance has not been as high as we may believe that it should be. And one of the things that I've asked is, when was the last time they've had a chance to actually run a television screen through the pipes to find out what the constrictions may be? So their design currently in the master plan is to double the pipes to be able to increase the capacity or to be able to replace the capacity. And I think that maybe sometimes it is a maintenance issue that if we're able to literally reline the pipe or route it out, that might be able to help with our typical rains. That doesn't help with sea level rise and storm surge, but it would be able to alleviate some of the day-to-day issues that we have around the city, and particularly in the low-lying areas in District 6.
I think stormwater is something I'd like to address as well. Again, with impervious surfaces that we're spreading all over and increased building, which leads to the issue of carrying capacity that we really didn't touch on too much, and safety issues for our residents and our visitors alike, for hurricanes and the ability to exit in a hurricane and what's the time period we're expected to exit on. So I think those are all really big considerations. Years ago, all you heard about from last stand and the Planning Commission was the carrying capacity and how many ROGO units we would get. And now those issues don't seem to be so much at the forefront, or they're just coming back to the forefront. We have very little green space left on our island, if anybody hasn't noticed. And one of the last green spaces is here although I think it extends outside of District 6. The actual Truman Park itself extends outside. We're at the, right?
We have had a fight because we've gone to the city commission meetings on many occasions. We're blocked in. The green space is taken from Bahama Village. It belongs to District 1. Monica? It belongs to District 1. It is very weird the way they draw the line and lock the people of Bahama Village outside of the waterfront when it's automatic with Bahama Village to have the waterfront. So the green space belongs to District 1.
So another good idea that was actually brought up last night was redistricting, and a lot of the districts don't make sense. So that's a great idea to redistrict our districts. But preserving our green space in terms of helping with stormwater runoff is also a huge point. And keeping our pervious surface so that we have drainage, and then creating more efficient drainage, whether it be widening the pipes or working with the Navy is a wonderful idea. And that's all I'll say to touch on that. And
Thaddeus?
I'm ready to eat some coconut ice cream.
Thaddeus?
No, I spoke on stormwater.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Now you got 2 minutes.
I don't need that.
All right, go ahead, sweetheart.
So I have a question for you. Well, my name is Peyton. I got your name and address. I got you. My name is Peyton Thomas. I'm new to the area. Came here in November last year, and it's not even this area. However, I've been listening to the moderator. I've been listening to the sisters at the table in the crowd, and I would like to ask you guys. There seems to be a rift. People think that there's a racial separation between the people, and I believe it's more of a social issue than racial. Would you guys be willing to divert revenue from taxes into the community so you can give financial education to allow the people to become literate and compete in today's world? So that way they're not asking the government for funding, but they're working alongside the government to better their community. For instance, the building that they were trying to buy, that they want the government to turn into. Oh, we understand the government moves a little bit slower. We understand this. So would you guys be willing to allow the education of financial literacy to be able to develop throughout the community and help restore Key West's once illustrious name of being the most wealthy community in all of Florida?
I certainly support literacy programs. We have 2 great ones that I know of here already in Key West. We have a literacy program, and I can't remember the exact name of it right now, and I get their newsletters regularly. And also out of the Douglas Gym, we have a tutoring program right here out of the Douglas Gym in Bahama Village, and I would certainly support that. I personally helped out there before with educating our children. and teaching violin and also doing some literacy work with children. And I think, education and cleanliness, we spoke about cleanliness earlier, but education's a great thing to support because everything also starts with education. And educating our children, educating our adults, and creating more programs or just taking the programs we have and possibly funneling some more support to them is a wonderful idea.
I think the city can partner with the school district as well as the college to be able, in the expanded Douglas gym, to be able to provide that financial literacy that you're talking about. There's also nonprofits such as United Way that helps with tax returns. But if what you're talking about is, having Key West to be what it was, which is the most wealthy community in the state, we're probably still that now. So the issue is for folks who have committed themselves here, how is it that they're going to be able to afford to stay? And those individuals who have property, how is it that they might be able to bequeath that to their relatives? And I think part of the process is being able to understand what your values are, both personally as well as physically, and then being able to talk with your relatives to be able to have them understand how growth and development occurs in this community and how it is that they can place themselves in a position to be able to maintain their property. I mean, way back in the day, we foresaw that this was going to be an issue, and you created something like the Community Land Trust, in which folks were going to be able to take the land out of the development process to be able to help things be more affordable. And over the years, that whole thing went sideways. So there's been over time an iterative process to be able to have folks understand what their values are and understand how they can bequeath that to their relatives without necessarily having to sell. And as I was told years ago, the last person who sells, take the picture of Martin Luther King with them to Miami. It's still here to do, but it takes dedication and concentration and focus to be able to make that happen.
Are you satisfied? I was just told by the gentleman the vice commander of the American Legion, that we are supposed to be out of here at 7:30. But I want to say this quick, Daniel, if you bear with me. There is such a great need for diversity and race relations. Some years ago, there was a lady here who worked at the Citizen, and she and I partnered, and we did the race relations dialogue with several other guys, a lecturer from the community college. And there is such a great need for the Black people, the white people, the Hispanic people, the Haitian people to communicate with each other. And now we have a different influx. In addition to the Caribbean people, the Africans are coming. And this is serious and beautiful. Guys, we gotta enjoy each other for who we are. There's no way we could go back when we were born and whom we were coming from. So we gotta enjoy each other in this small space. And there's a great need for diversity training for the policemen. All the shops on Duval Street that's selling weed now, when all our little Black brothers gone to prison for selling the same weed. All right, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. Guys, we're gonna do another forum before the elections. Bring your neighbor, bring your cousins, bring your uncle, bring your brother. Because it's not about any one organization or person. We want to hear what's inside these guys who want to be voted for. We want to hear from them. This is what it is about. So if you hear another one, please come. We'll bite the bullet. The guys from Bahama Village Voices, we'll bite the bullet. Please come back. Get a Bahama Village Voices over there. If you didn't get one at your door, because we deliver them in the village. There's a stack here and there's a stack at the door. And if you miss it or you want more, you could always come back when the American Legion is open. But please support the businesses too that support us. Flamingo Crossing, Kermit Key Lime, Yaman's Jamaican Food, Blue Heaven. Blue Heaven has supported in almost everything we have done in the village. Support the businesses that support us and come back and get a drink sometimes at the American Legion. I thank you very much. My name is Veronica Stafford. I thank you very much. Look out for your next Bahama Village Voices. Thank you.